Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I am JaiDei Jackson and have my colleague, Dr. Natasha Lamar of The Wives Inc. And this is Knowing and Growing. And today we're going to be talking about toxic mother-daughter relationships. Yeah, I know, right? So this is a conversation that is, I think, very appropriate because the we talked about this in one of our previous podcasts where I said society doesn't make space for those mother-daughter relationships that have not been loving, that have not been supportive, that are even now not loving, nurturing, all the things that when we talk about motherhood or mothers, we tend to default to. And so today we want to make space for those relationships that are not as embracing as we think they are. Because I think one of the things that it does is that it causes a person who's having a dysfunctional relationship with their mother to feel that something is wrong with them. And it also creates a longing, like, why didn't I get it? Or if only I had. So we're going to talk about four different ways to spot or determine if you're having a toxic mother-daughter relationship, and then we're going to just briefly talk about. Oops, sorry about that. And then we're just going to briefly talk about how or what it is that you can do to address this toxic. If you find yourself having this toxic mother-daughter relationship, what it is that you can do. So I just want to first go down because I was thinking about how am I going to do this? Do we talk about them one at a time, or do I talk about them all at one time? And then, so what do you think, Dr. Lamar? Do you want me to break them down one at a time, and then we'll talk about them one at a
Yeah,
time?
yeah, let's just break them down because we don't get to all four. At least we can, come back again. But let's break them down because you'll talk, I'll talk because I have a lot to say about this, and then we'll just go from there. But it's totally up to you. But those are my thoughts.
Okay. Well, the first one that I want to talk about that that I tend to see in my sessions a lot is when the mother and the daughter have not created this space for independence. And how this shows up is that the sometimes people refer to this as those helicopters mothers, where they're doing everything for their child, where the child can't think independently of the mother. They're always looking to, I don't know. Let me see. I need to figure out what my mom is going to say. So, what do you think about that when you meet an adult? We're not talking a child, and we're not even because sometimes young adults, and I consider someone to be a young adult up until age 24, maybe 25, because adolescence has been extended. But at some point, if I meet someone who's in their 40s and they're still running to their mother to help them make life decisions, or the mother is always in their business, then that says to me that they have not created a space of independence from their mother. So what do you think about that?
As you were saying that, I was thinking codependency. I was thinking that I think sometimes, and I know we're talking about mother and daughter, but I think mothers also do it with their sons. They create this false sense of a relationship instead of it being a mother-daughter relationship. And the goal is giving your daughter the skills and the tools that she needs so that she can one day go out into the world and be a woman who can sustain, earn her own, instead of teaching from a place of fear of what she shouldn't do, creating this space where when she is struggling, she's reaching out or reaching back to her mom instead of attempting to say, okay, so let me go into my toolbox and see how I can begin. I think sometimes mother do that intentionally. When they hadn't got their needs met, then they're teaching from a place of deficiency or lack. Or sometimes I think moms do that because they think that they're doing the best thing and giving their daughter everything that they did not have. So again, teaching from a place of deficiency. So that's just kind of where my thoughts go
Yeah,
when I
and
think
you
about
also and I like you also mentioned mothers and sons, and that's going to be another podcast because the
right.
way that mothers show up toxically in their relationship with their sons creates something different. But as we talk about mother-daughter's relationship, this unwillingness to allow their child to be independent and out there in the world. And of course, it can be from a lack of mom having a sense of self and also a sense of purpose. Like
Mhm.
sometimes mothers can lose themselves in being a mother. Like before she became a mother, she was an individual. Now there are a lot of women who want to be mothers, but I'm talking about this toxic level where they, and you said intentional, where they're intentionally stunting their child or their daughter's independence, because that means that once their daughter gets away from them, then they don't have that control. And it's something about the mother needing that control to feel safe herself
Right.
versus recognizing I have equipped them to the best of my ability and let them go out there in the world and then learn from their experience and to be a resource for them to come back to. So now the second sign of toxicity in a mother-daughter relationship is where the mother is overstepping her boundaries through the micromanaging of the daughter's life, such as her career, telling her what type of career she should go into. Now, of course, once again, this could come from this place of mom knows best, but sometimes mother may not know best in terms of what will make a child happy or not even happy with but what's going to bring them joy. Even their romantic choices. Mothers can be very negative if they don't agree with a child's choice or just meddling, like the child has gotten married and now she's always in their relationship, she's always interfering, she's always giving her opinion, and she's speaking out of turn. She can be disrespectful toward the spouse, and she's disrespectful toward the mother if her daughter becomes a mother, and she can be very disrespectful in terms of overstepping her boundaries in terms of parenting when this is not her child. This she has a grandparent role. But now she's thinking, well, I'm a mother. I done this, so I'm the authority here. Versus recognizing this is her daughter's child. So, what do you think about that? When have you seen that in? And I know you work with couples, but once again, if a couple, the wife is having mother-daughter issues, is going to show up in our marriage. So, what do you think about that? Because I talked about the meddling part.
Right. So you're absolutely right. I do work a lot with couples. I also work with families, and I see it a lot. So okay, so we talked about this a couple of weeks ago in one of the podcasts, and we talked about being healthy, right? And we talked about healed or healing, right? And again, I'm still working through my working knowledge of what healthy means, and I think I want to go with well instead of saying healthy, because I do think you can be healthy, but I think that we're always working on ourselves, be it either a therapist or a client, which takes me back to the point or the question that you just asked. When you're sick, oftentimes sickness is contagious. So when a mom is meddling, when a mom is needing that connection with her daughter, and when she's needing that, that is an indication to me that she's sick, right? And she's projecting. Remember, you project what you expect. She's projecting her stuff onto her daughter because a lack of, or her not being well, or her not being unhealthy, or her not being well. And so I really want to believe that most moms are not intentionally sabotaging the relationship with their daughter, but you do better when you know better. And I honestly and truly feel like these are parents thinking, or a mom thinking she's doing the best because she had not healed, or she's not healing from her relationship with her mom or with whomever, whatever female surrogate she may have had. And so when I think about that, I think of not just, mom this and mom that, but what does the mom need? Why is she showing up? Why do you need to feel security from your daughter when she's a child and not your partner? She's not another adult. And so it has me to go back. What is it that mom didn't get, or what is it that mom needs when a mother is, in her daughter's business, romantically, professionally, and so on and so forth. So those are the things that show up for me that mom is not well.
Yeah, and absolutely, because remember, the mother is the one who has created the relationship. The daughter is kind of responding to the relationship.
Right.
And however, the thing that I want in listening to you, I'm hearing that something is going on with mom.
Right.
The flip side of it is, but she's hurting her child,
Right.
right? And I heard you say, I don't want to believe that mom is being intentional,
Right.
that hurt people, right? I get that. However, if you're the daughter that's being hurt, I want to let you know that you have the right to create, and this is one of these tools, you have the right to create boundaries with
Right.
your mother. Just because she's your mother doesn't give her any extra authority because you are now an adult. And sometimes mothers do assert, I am your mother, as if that has way more weight than what it does. Yes, you birthed me. Yes, you were responsible for getting me to this point in terms of
Mhm.
making sure I was clothed and fed and sheltered. However, I don't owe you my life. And
Right.
sometimes that's what a meddling mother, and that's what makes it toxic. She believes that she's entitled to her daughter's life. And she may not say it, but it's in her actions. I have a right to say and do and meddle because you're my child. And they will use, and it's because I love you. It's because I want the best for you. Well, do you really love me and want the best for me? Because what I'm thinking about is that if you do, then you will learn how to support me and be an adult so that I can stand independently of you versus ensuring that I am dependent upon you.
Right. Right.
And this leads me into the next thing that creates a part of that toxic relationship is that when I don't do what, or when they don't do, and I'm speaking sometimes about my own stuff, because I felt that there were times when my relationship with my mom was toxic. It's the withdrawal of love or withdrawal of support or withdrawal of care or withdrawal of their love and affection. That's another way of controlling a relationship. Is that if I don't do what you want me to do, then I'm going to stop speaking to you. I'm going to
Mm.
stop engaging with you. I'm going to stop giving you my attention. And that will then create this crisis within you. It could be an existential crisis, but it's still a crisis just the same, where now I'm longing for you and I need you, and I then acquiesce so that you can then give me back what it is that I so long for, which is your love or your support or your attention. What do you think about that?
Oh, wow. So you said a mouthful with that, and I 100% agree. And I want to kind of go back a little bit when I was saying that and again, some moms are just that vicious where they are intentional. Like that is their goal. That's what they're trying to do. It's very unfortunate, but I do believe, I want to say most moms, I don't have any statistics on this, but I want to say, I don't think that most moms do it. I think that most moms are parenting from a place of hurt and if not working on their own healing. But which leads me to, it's very difficult to create boundaries, which is possible. And your mom, just because she's your mom, you don't owe her your life. And I teach my clients, and I share this with my clients, and I believe it within myself. If a person isn't healthy, or if a person doesn't serve you well, or if a person isn't well, you get to decide how you engage with them. You don't get to control how they respond or how they act, but you get to control how you put yourself around them. But if you are a daughter, for any daughters that are listening to this, that has a very toxic relationship with your mom, if you are a daughter, some of the things that your mom is doing, you don't even realize that it's an infringement on your boundaries. And so it's like, well, that's my mama, and she says she'd always be there for me. Yes, she should. But if she's showing up in an unhealthy way, then it's important for you to create boundaries around what that means and what you should do to protect yourself. And I want to say this, I'm going to move forward. So when we think about how we respond to our parents or to our mom, it's ultimately us responding to our trauma responses. And our trauma responses is actually our brain trying to course correct, right? It's trying to, when something negative happens, it's our brain saying, okay, you need to do this because that wasn't working. And sometimes it can be done in a negative way. And so getting a daughter to even realize that their mom is toxic is a whole nother step. So there's stages to this. It's just not my mom is toxic, I'm gonna be the best, there's stages to understanding for that daughter to begin to work on herself, to begin to shift that relationship and create safety.
It's interesting that you said a lot of good stuff, and we're almost at time. So this is definitely going to have to be a part two, because there's another one that I wanted to talk about, and then I definitely want to go into what to do in if you do find yourself having or in a toxic relationship. The thing that I want to that you said that was very important is that we do get to choose.
Right.
We get to choose how and whom we're going to interact with. I think what ends up happening, and you do talk about trauma, and the brain then gets wired differently.
Right.
And so this is helping those individuals who have been traumatized by toxic relationships with their mother, because right now parents can be toxic, but we're really talking about the mother-daughter relationship. And what I'm wanting to do once again is make that space for those women who did not have a good relationship with their mother, because my mom, and it can be generational, my mother did not have a good relationship with her mother. And then of course I think it was evident, because if she didn't have it, she didn't know how to create it. So thereby it began to interfere with our relationship. And because I began to do my work, I was able to go back and shift our relationship. But this is not about me. This is about those other individuals. So that's the thing that I want people to realize. And that's another, how do you deal with it? You get to choose. You don't owe your parents, or you definitely don't owe your mother your life. Um, and I still say that let's make space for those women who have not had good relationships. Because when we say, and this is me coming from the space of when someone says, well, oh, she's still your mother, or oh, you don't know what she went through, what you've done is you've diminished my pain, not knowingly. And I don't think there's any malicious intent when people do that. But I still say when someone has had an excellent relationship with their mother, they can't understand my pain, my journey of not having that nurturing, loving, supportive relationship with my mom, not even from her being a wise woman. Like, there are a lot of things that ends up being missed that we have to then either create in our own um, pathway, our own journey to get that nurturing. And you talk about attachment a lot. So I think that impacts our ability to attach in healthy romantic relationships and even in friendships. And I see it, and I imagine it will also impact how we show up at work as well.
Right.
We are at time. Wow.
I want to say something. I'm feeling led to do this. We are at time, and I really want to respect you because this is your show. You can
Okay,
be like,
so I'm going to give you 1 minute then.
I was gonna say, I think like I think what you're saying is absolutely right about if you had a good relationship with your mom. Um, Sometimes people have a difficult time to understand, but at the same time I do believe that people can sit in a place of understanding even if they had a good relationship with their mom, can really sit when they understand the importance of honoring yourself and taking care of yourself. I think because I did have a good relationship with my mom, but I do have friends who did not, and I do understand. I didn't have that same experience, but I do understand, and I want to say that because I think that can be a little insensitive, for people to think that, oh, just because you had a good relationship with your mom, then you don't understand what somebody else went through. And I don't 100% agree with that. However, there is some validity in that. But there is, the opposite side of the coin as well. I just wanted to share that piece.
Yeah, and because now, yeah, it seems like we're heading on toward 20 minutes. And I want to respond to that.
Yeah.
And the way I want to respond, it makes me wonder if it's because you are a therapist that you can stand in that place of empathy. But when I engage with people who, and this is before I became a therapist, I had a career before this. I'm a certified public accountant.
Okay.
When I would engage with women who had a good relationship, they couldn't stand in that space. it was uncomfortable for them. But I think because I wonder, I don't know, I wonder if it's because you're trained that you're able to stand, because it's uncomfortable. It's what I noticed as I got older, and especially when I became a therapist, I began to notice there's a level of discomfort in what if there are mothers who aren't loving and supportive and nurturing. This has been awesome. And stay tuned for part two. Once again, this is Knowing and Growing with JaiDei and Dr. Lamar, and we will see you on the next turn. Have a good day.
Bye.